Yo, what's up? Welcome back to another episode of the SWUS. We are into Week 9, Thursday Night Football, Texans, Jets in MetLife. Talking about another Jets game. Let the pain begin. Let's get into it.
Quick update, and we'll start with the good news. I had a winning night tonight, so that's the good news. I went 3-1 in the NBA. Bad news was my biggest bet was Liberty -2, and they just threw an interception to lose the game. Wait, there's a flag? Nah, they're still celebrating. It's over. So 3-1 in the NBA, but lost Liberty, which sucks. But whatever. Had a winning night. Bounced back from an 0-3 Tuesday. Let's do it. Thursday night.
Welcome to the SWUS. The SWUS. SWUS. Hey, get the SWUS.
All right, like I said, Houston's on the road at MetLife for this one. Jets laying 2 or 1.5, depending on your sports book. This line actually opened up last Sunday at Jets +1. So it's moved 2.5, 3 points towards the Jets, indicative of Jets money coming in. Total sitting at 42 or 42.5, depending on your sports book. Let's take a quick look at the pie charts, and according to this data, action's coming in heavily on the Houston side. 85% of the tickets and about 85% of the money. Take this data with a grain of salt, but honestly, that makes sense. I would expect most of the action to be coming in on Houston here based on how the Jets have looked the past few weeks. So let's get into this matchup, and we'll start with the Jets' historic performance last week. I believe Dan Orlovsky tweeted this out, so you might already saw this, but check this out. So the Jets scored 20 or more points, had 0 turnovers, and held their opponent to 250 or less yards. An NFL team that puts up those numbers had won 750 times in a row. So the last 750 times an NFL team scored 20 or more points, committed 0 turnovers, and held their opponents to 250 or less yards, they won. Until last week when the Jets lost to New England 25-22 on some Jacoby Brissett heroics there at the end of the game. This Jets team just can't seem to do anything right. So what do we think about this matchup against Houston on Thursday night? Well, no question, when it comes to the Texans offense, we're seeing a lot more rushing production when Joe Mixon is on the field. He played in week 1 and then in the last 3 games, week 6, 7, and 8. In those 4 games, Houston's averaging over 161 rushing yards per game on 5.1 yards per carry. Just a 37.3% success rate per rush isn't great, but no question these numbers are much better than the production they've seen on the ground without Joe Mixon on the field. That's weeks 2 through 5. Just 77.3 rushing yards per game on 3.5 yards per carry. 19.8% success rate per rush is absolutely terrible. So will the Texans be able to get the run game going against this Jets defense? Well, the Jets are 6th in the NFL in yards per carry allowed, but 24th in success rate per rush, 22nd in EPA, 23rd in DVOA. Certainly not great looking numbers there against the run. I will say the Texans do run a lot of zone blocking schemes, 9th most in the NFL, and that does play into the strength of the Jets run defense. They're actually pretty good against zone blocking, so there's something if you like the Jets defense here. But the truth is the Jets really had one great game against the run. It was last week against New England, held them to the 3.6 yards per carry, 32.3% success rate per rush. As I'm sure you probably know, it's a lot easier to defend the run when Jacoby Brissett's playing quarterback and the passing game isn't much of a threat. So they definitely had that working for them. We definitely don't want to forget about the first 6 games of the year where the Jets were struggling against the run, allowing over 129 rushing yards per game, 4.45 yards per carry, 42.5% success rate per rush. Not that these numbers are practical joke terrible, but this certainly hasn't been a great run defense this year. The defensive front struggling to stay on the line of scrimmage. They're 23rd in adjusted line yards, 28th in run defense grade. Not to mention they're dealing with injuries. CJ Mosley out again. He was injured earlier in the season, came back. Now he's out again. He's going to miss this one. Tony Adams out, Chuck Clark out, and Ashton Davis, that's their 3rd safety, he's out. So the Jets are going to have their 4th and 5th safeties on the field for this one. As I'm sure you probably know, the safety position is huge in defending the run. That's what keeps a 5-yard gain from becoming a touchdown. So the Jets having the 4th and 5th safeties out there, definitely not what you want to see. So although I do think the numbers are inflated with this Joe Mixon on the field, Texans great run game thing, I think we're going to find an opportunity to fade that. I don't know if the Jets defense without CJ Mosley and missing 3 safeties is the time to do it. I think Houston should be able to run the ball here. But what about the matchup for CJ Stroud in the passing attack? Well, one thing the Jets defensive front can do is pressure the passer. They're 3rd in the NFL in pressure rate, 5th in adjusted sack rate on the season. As I'm sure you know, Hassan Reddick is on the field playing for the Jets. Here's the thing, CJ Stroud's actually been great handling pressure this year. 8th in yards per pass attempt, 8th in passer rating, 10th in turnover-worthy play rate. So he's done a good job handling pressure so far this year. Also, CJ Stroud throws a lot of intermediate passes. 24.4% frequency. That's a lot. That happens to be the weakness of the Jets defense. They're 30th in DVOA against the intermediate pass. They struggle to defend the middle of the field. Not having CJ Mosley certainly doesn't help either. So that's another positive angle for CJ Stroud. What kind of coverages do the Jets run? Same as last year. 6th in man frequency, 4th in cover 1 frequency. CJ Stroud, actually much better looking numbers throwing the ball against man coverage this year. Completion percentage, yards per attempt, passer rating, turnover worthy play rate, 5th, 12th, 10th, and tied for first, compared to 26th, 20th, 22nd, and 11th against zone coverage. He's actually got some solid looking numbers against cover 1 as well. 7th in yards per pass attempt, 9th in completion percentage, just 21st in passer rating, but not a bad matchup for CJ Stroud here coverage-wise. Here's the thing, and as I'm sure you already know, there's some pretty significant injuries here to the Texans offense. Diggs is out, Collins is out, Patterson's out from the offensive line, Pierce is out as well. So will CJ Stroud be able to exploit these matchups? Because on paper, he has been better against man coverage. He has pretty good numbers against cover 1 as well, which is what the Jets run. Is he able to exploit those without these two receivers on the field? And it definitely doesn't help to see that Nico Collins is by far the best man coverage beater on the team. 3.6 yards per route run. Next closest is actually Cade Stover. If you're looking for a weird prop, maybe Cade Stover. He's got excellent efficiency numbers against man coverage this year. Tight end too for Houston. But Nico Collins, by far the best man coverage beater on the team. Another angle you might not like for CJ Stroud here is this game is on the road. Over the course of his career, he's been much better at home in Houston. Completion percentage from 66.4 to 62.8. Yards per attempt, 8.6 to 7. Touchdown to interception ratio, well, it's actually pretty good. Touchdown to interception ratio, pretty good at home or away, but much better at home. Passer rating from 105.7 to 90.5 on the road. So he's been much better at home. Also, this Jets defense always seems to play much better at home at MetLife. This is quarterback numbers against the Jets since last season. You would see all the numbers much better at home for the Jets. Completion percentage, passing yards allowed per game, yards per attempt, average passer rating, all significantly better at home at MetLife. So CJ Stroud, not as good on the road. Jets defense, way better at home. Not great angles there if you like Houston. Also, the worst game of CJ Stroud's career was last year, week 14, on the road at MetLife against this Jets defense. Just 10 of 23, 91 yards, a 54.8 passer rating. By far the worst game of his career. Now, we do have to mention that this game was played in terrible weather. December in MetLife, it was raining. The field was disgusting. So I don't know how seriously I take these numbers, but I do think it's important to take note. CJ Stroud on the road, not as reliable. Jets defense at home, much more reliable. Definitely don't like that if you're betting Houston. So overall on this side of the ball, I do think Houston's able to run it a little bit in this game. I don't think the Jets have a particularly good run defense. As far as CJ Stroud missing the weapons against a Jets secondary that plays better at home, I don't particularly love the matchup, even though he does have better numbers against man coverage and against cover 1. Don't have a ton of faith in CJ Stroud. The Jets pass rush is capable of creating pressure, so I don't love the matchup for Stroud, but I do think the Texans will be able to run the ball a bit in this game. Now, what about on the other side? We got the Jets offense. Numbers not looking great. Bottom 10 rushing attack this year. Passing numbers are improving as of late. The last 3 games, it looks like the passing attack starting to come around here for the Jets. But as a whole, the offense hasn't been great. 23rd in yards per play, 16th in success rate. Passing 23rd in yards per pass attempt, 19th in success rate per dropback. They're matched up against a Texans defense that, despite the injuries, they haven't been healthy, still looking like a top 5 defense this year. 3rd in yards per play, 1st in success rate, 8th in EPA, 2nd in DVOA. Numbers against the pass are looking elite. Something like it might be a top 3 pass defense this year. You can question the competition a bit, but even when they've seen some good quarterbacks, they've rose to the occasion. They've got some great numbers against the pass. I mentioned the injuries to the Texans defense. Here they are. Now, the good news for Houston is these aren't new injuries. Jimmy Ward, he's missed 3 games, I believe, so this is going to be the 4th game he's missed. Christian Harris hasn't played all year. Al-Shaair, he missed last week as well. That's not a new injury. Mario Edwards Jr. has been suspended for 2 or 3 games now, so that's not new. Actually, Toto's back. He missed the last 2 games, so they're actually more healthy in this one than they have been for the last 2 weeks. And the Jets are going to be missing Vera Tucker at guard in this one. That's probably their best offensive lineman. He's out. Morgan Moses is also questionable, but he's been participating in practice, so I think Morgan Moses probably plays. Allen Lazard is also out. Not that the Jets have a shortage of receiving weapons, but up until this point of the season, there's been times where it looks like Allen Lazard is the only receiver Aaron Rodgers trusts on the team. Now, I say that a little tongue-in-cheek. Obviously, Devontae Adams is there. Garrett Wilson had a big game. But Allen Lazard's been a big part of the passing offense, at least for the first few weeks of the year. So he's out as well. And I really don't know if Aaron Rodgers is going to have run support in this game. The Jets' offensive line, although it's been pretty solid in terms of pass protection, they're not doing a good job creating space in the run game. 30th in adjusted line yards, 30th in yards before contact. They're matched up against Houston. Nobody's generating push on this Houston defensive front. This is a top 5 run defense last year, looking like a top 5 or a top 10 run defense this year. They're 6th in adjusted line yards, 2nd in yards before contact. And it's not like the Jets have been running the ball. In their last 5 games, they're averaging just 77.4 rushing yards per game, 3.8 yards per carry, 33.9% success rate per rush is terrible. Now, you can point to the defenses. They saw Denver, Minnesota. Buffalo's not the best pass run defense. Steelers are tough. Patriots. So, I mean, yeah, they've had a tough stretch of defenses, but they're playing Houston. So it's not like that ends. They're playing another tough defense. Now, if you are betting the Jets, and I'm assuming this is what the quote-unquote sharp money is seeing that came in on the Jets and bought this number up to -2, this is what you're looking at right here. The Jets passing attack, Aaron Rodgers seems to be coming to fruition here. In the last 3 games, the numbers look good. 267.7 passing yards per game, 7.9 yards per pass attempt, 55.2% success rate per dropback, average pass rating 93.4. That's against Buffalo, decent pass defense. The Steelers, the Patriots, okay, that's not a good team. But the last 3 games, it looks like Aaron Rodgers is getting comfortable. The Jets passing attack seems to be getting better as the season progresses. So that's probably what people are looking at that are betting the Jets here that bought this number up to -1.5, -2. But here's the thing, and I mentioned this before, Houston's looking like one of the best pass defenses in the NFL. In their last 5 games, they're allowing less than 188 passing yards per game, 5.9 yards per attempt, an average passer rating of 75.8, 44% success rate per dropback. Okay, that's not great, but as a whole, this Houston pass defense has been really good, and you can't say they've played nobody. Okay, yeah, the Patriots are in there with Drake May, and then the Colts with Anthony Richardson. Look at the other 3 games. Trevor Lawrence, Josh Allen, Jordan Love. I mean, they've seen some quarterbacks. This is looking like one of the best pass defenses in the NFL. Now, as far as the coverage matchups go for Aaron Rodgers, it's really tough to find anything because Houston's defense is pretty well balanced. Run a decent amount of man coverage, decent amount of zone coverage. I did find something if you're looking for something, and this is razor thin. Houston does run a lot of cover 4. 4th most in the NFL, so they run a lot of cover 4. Aaron Rodgers has terrible numbers throwing the ball on cover 4. 31st in completion percentage, 25th in yards per attempt, 28th in passer rating. But here's the thing. Cover 4, I mean, they don't run it that frequently, 23%. 4th most in the NFL, but just 23% of snaps. So, like I said, it's pretty thin. Houston runs a pretty balanced defense here in terms of coverages, so nothing really there. So, as far as betting this game, I mean, I guess I can see the path to a Jets bet. Houston traveling on a short week. Jets passing attack seems to be coming together. Maybe a buy low spot for the Jets. They're sitting at 2-6, but I mean, they lost 5 games in a row. They could have easily won 4 of them. I mean, the only game where they got beat is the Steelers game. Other than that, you can argue if the Jets had a kicker, they'd be sitting at 5-3 right now. So I do understand how maybe it's a buy low for the Jets, but at the same time, I think we might have to take into account that the Jets might just be a team that finds ways to lose games. So even if, okay, let's say we bet Jets -2, Jets -1.5 here. Even if everything goes the Jets' way, Aaron Rodgers plays a good game, they shut Stroud down, are you even confident, even if all that happens, are you even confident that the Jets win? Because I'm not. I still think the Jets will find a way to lose based on what we've seen. Makes it really hard. I mean, Riley Patterson is the kicker now. Do we trust that he is even capable of making the kicks? I just feel whatever can go wrong for this Jets team will go wrong. So I actually lean towards the Houston side. I haven't bet it. I think the move here would be to take the under at 42.5. I expect Houston to run the ball, and I think they'll be able to run the ball. But the Jets secondary at home, not the best matchup for Stroud. Not a ton of faith of Stroud, missing his wide receivers. So maybe not able to turn those drives into 6s. So a lot of running, a lot of clock chewing, settling for field goals. And on the Jets side, I mean, they're probably going to be throwing the ball, but Houston's been great defensively. So give me the under 42.5, and I lean Houston at the +2. I mean, the whole world's going to be taking it, and the sharp money's on the other side. I don't like that, but Give me the under. Under 42.5 with a lean towards Houston. That's where I'm at. We'll talk about it on the live show. Let's get some other opinions. If you want to see all the bets I have open, head over to KyleKirms.com and click on open bets. You'll see all mine as well as everyone else on the staff here. Live show, 4 p.m. Eastern time. We'll talk about this game. We'll talk about the NBA games. Go through everything. If you're able to make it, we'd love to see you in the comments. Let's have ourselves a good one. Please remember to bet responsibly. Talk to you later.